beverages or not?
So, oh,
We're in champ select.
we're in champ select. Nice. So
That is, you are saved. I should probably not be doing.
Save button. Can you not? Get up. You have cooties.
This is going to be an incredible day
This
of
is
League of
gonna be
Legends. Zeri, Viego, Trundle, and Rengar. Of course, Ice Gale on Rengar don't allow that.
Nope.
Just for the reference, I know the Munster Rugby Gaming jungler is called Gaboosh. I know
Good
about this.
job.
It's I will pronounce it all wrong once this broadcast, just to keep you on your toes.
Okay.
But we're looking at the off the table. A lot of power's been left through here. Stuff like the Jinx, the Caitlyn, the Zinzao, all available.
Yeah, and I mean, yesterday there was a lot of memes going on about, Jinx V1. And yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we see London United go for this Zinzao priority. LDN, yes, we know he's a very aggressive jungler. It's why Munster have even opted to remove away the Thresh here. Oh, not the Thresh, they picked up the Thresh, but they removed it away from Divus' opportunities to be picked up. But Trundle, that's why they removed away the Trundle, because it's a champion that he picks up quite frequently. I think even on occasion has B1'd it for London United as well. Munster, I think, just doing the correct thing. Jinx plus the Thresh. No real third argument for me there. I would be surprised to see KZ go for the Ezreal. I think we just give Jinx too much of a free time in lane. And I'm not too sure how I feel about the lock-in here, realistically. But it has gone through, and I would expect Divinus to probably default to the Nautilus on top of that. But for Munster, I think they'll be sitting there rubbing their hands together quite happily if this rotation does come through, because, again, Jinx is going to have a very easy time getting priority on the bottom side practically by herself. And it's going to allow Blue to quite simply walk up into the river and find some rotations into the mid lane and try and influence Yoichi and Chimera's lane. Blitzcrank, though, is actually the lock-on of choice instead, and Gaboosh is going to respond with that volley bear. Of course, Viego removed away from it. I think rightfully so. He's had so many strong performances on that champion. And I mean, if there's one thing we do know, we know that Viego, not particularly balanced if you watched the Veneer game yesterday. Ludo, with the assistance of some very interesting jungle pathing.
Absolute psychopath was,
Yeah,
I think, the way someone described it in our storyline meeting this morning.
Yeah, that was me. Absolutely dismantled Astralis on that pick. But moving into the second ban phase here, Ice Scale getting champions removed. No real shock there.
Yeah, this is kind of what you expect to see from anyone up against Munster, London United. Sorry, they'll just be taking away. Obviously, you have to get rid of stuff like the Rengar immediately, but then you want to be pinching on the second rotation, because if Ice Scale first picks something like the Fiora, gets countered. So what he's going to go with, of course, he might not get countered because if a mid laner is locked in here for Munster, if they decide we're going to let Chimera go on to something safe, I'm looking at Orianna, Syndra, Victor, all of these options are available. He can always revert to something like that, or they're just going to get something nice and safe and normal like the Ord. It opens up angles for like the Gnar that does quite well into this matchup, but that's not really a Icy Gale standard pick.
No, Icy Gale more likely to lock in something like the Silas being common realistically into it. Even the likes of, one of the Wind Brothers, Yoan or Yasuo, into something like he's
The Wind Brothers.
Yeah, the
I like
Wind
that.
Brothers. But either way, a carry is definitely
Yes.
balls on the table here for Icy Gale, and he has gone for the Mordekaiser, so going to be able to, lock away the Ornn, lock away one of these frontliners, remove that option away from the Munster team fighting, or of course, if he's ever able to get close enough to Merbs, taking away Merbs into the Death Realm can be massive right now, considering Munster Rugby's core damage is coming out the bottom lane from that Jinx, and for Yoichi's pick here, seems like they will remove away the Corki, and I think that would honestly make a lot of sense, assuming it gets locked in. Time ticks down. They're actually going to last second swap instead to the Silas, which, given the ultimates available, I think it's mostly you're going to be stealing away that Ornn, maybe Volley Bear's ultimate as well, if you can get close enough every now and again. And I don't know if he would. Chimera doesn't necessarily strike me as a Veigar player. Very wide champion pool. I wouldn't say it's integrity, but knowing Chimera personally, a lot of different options, and he's actually landed on Cassiopeia, which, quite frankly, I like.
I like that too.
Yeah, I think in the 1v1 against the Silas in the earlier stages, as long as you're not running, too low a mana, you can definitely win out on the 1v1. I would imagine, of course, the scaling aspect of Cassiopeia is absolutely massive. If you're talking about, being able to stop some of the mobility options of the core trio from the jungle mid and AD carry role, Grounded is going to do just that. And on top of that, if you do get pulled into the Death Realm, your 1v1 isn't really...
It's not terrible.
No.
Cutting back time, the damage is decent, and obviously I don't think the Cassiopeia is going to be the sole focus of Icy Gale's affections when it comes to grabbing into Death Realm. Of course, Merbs makes sense even removing Gaboosh when you're fighting around these objectives. We talked about this season. It's been the story of objectives, right? Just because of the way that bounties work, the way that how powerful these dragons are. Barons, of course, have always been great. Teams like to set up around objectives or design teams to fight into objectives. So removing junglers is always going to be great. My one concern for London United's composition, it doesn't strike me as the easiest thing to execute on. Am I wrong in this?
I don't think you are. I think if you're standing the two compositions upright next to each other, yeah, hands down, yeah, Munster's but that's Munster's identity. They don't draft hard comps to execute. They draft comps that come online at 2 items because they feel confident enough their macro to not fall behind several thousand gold. And even if they do, they understand the map well enough to be able to get themselves into a position where they can always cross map, where they can always find a way to contest objectives that maybe against, not to disrespect the rest of the league, but slightly more equal opponents, perhaps like natives, they wouldn't necessarily contest for things, but they are doing it on a regular basis because they understand that as long as they have certain positions or as long as they meet certain criteria, conditions about how their team comp can actually skirmish and win team fights, they'll willingly take it against the teams that are, towards the middle of the pack. And I think here for London United, they draft themselves a comp where I don't think it's hard to execute, but it's no front to back either.
Yes, it's not. This is the thing I love about Munster Rugby, because they're a team that has individual talent across the board, but they don't go in saying, we win because our players are better than you. That is often why they do win, but they come in with these really easy to execute front to back, simple drafts, and they're the team that is willing to say, Stumpy, you're on Malphite duty this game, which is the canary in the mineshaft of we're playing a very easy to play composition because there's not much easier than that, except for like the occasional Bloodsteel draft for Domino where they just draft CC. But we're on to the Rift for game number 1 of the evening. London United on the blue side, chasing towards those playoff places. Of course, they're not there right now. Also need to be careful about relegation. That's something we've got to consider down here in Division 2. Munster Rugby Gaming on the red. A team in very good form, in a very good position, top of the table right now. And you know what, Jamada? Just on balance at the moment, I'd favour London Munster Rugby Gaming in this one.
Wow.
Hot take for you all at home.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think I would too. So I want to spin the narrative a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think as far as London United are concerned right now, as kind of predicted, they put themselves in a position where they're not necessarily gonna outscale Munster. And I think it was, when I say as expected, more because Munster very constantly draft like this, where we've got an early game jungler, and then the rest of the lanes are effectively scaling. London United, again, the onus lies on them to try and find an early game lead when and where they can. And they've got decent setup across the board. They've got lanes that they can really pick on. I think they win out most of the 2v2s and 3v3 on the bottom side. I think there's an argument to be made for the mid lane, where Cassiopeia, she hits those Noxious Blasts. Definitely can put out the DPS even in the early stages. Of course, very mana consuming for her. Can't do it for a very prolonged period of time like how she can in the later stages of the game. So I think London United, if they can just force the issue, try and skirmish a little bit, try and get ahead on the top side of the map. Even if you can cheese a little bit of Divness on the bottom side, then go for it. But I think this bottom side could be a real pain in the backside for London United, simply because they've drafted Ezreal, they've drafted Blitzcrank. They're not going to have priority down here ever.
No.
This is going to be full autonomy for the Munster Rugby Gaming bottom lane. Full autonomy meaning they get to pick and choose when the wave is shoved in, when they get shoved in themselves, because it's 2 range versus 1 melee and a range. And not only that, Jinx by herself, typically in the AD carry pool right now, can kind of just get priority whenever she feels like it. Death Sentence does go wide. Try to find a cheeky level 2. Zoichi also eats a pretty nasty trade in the mid lane. So I'm looking at the bottom lane here and I'm saying, Munster, this is probably your point of pressure. This is how you keep London United down. But London United, you have to try and get yourselves down here as early as possible. As Dunlosey, it looks like he's doing a 3-camp. Interrupt this pattern before it starts to interrupt the rest of the map.
I mean, he's on Zinzao, which is a champion that we know can get worked on in the early stages. Then the top side, remember, Icegale, Ornn, surprisingly durable and damage heavy in the early stages, but against Mordekaiser, I'm not expecting fireworks from him. Icegale, of course, A lot of positive chat about this guy as we see NLC coming in mid, but he misses the opportunity to get the gank going fully, and Baloo and Merb see that the jungler is not near their lane and press forward once again. But honestly, this season, through Icy Gale, hasn't really lived up to the hype that a lot of people were touting him with.
I mean, it's a hard call to make, right? I think individually, he's maybe not had the performances that he would like on a consistent basis, but I think he's had loads of moments to shine throughout this. And he has he's shone bright when he has had those moments. So, you know, whilst yes, he might not be living up to perhaps his own personal standards or expectations because of the results, I think he's still doing fine. And now Divinus
is in a lot of trouble here. Flashes over the wall, very nice, but Gaboosh is going to follow Chimera there as well. And I think this is a very dead robot. Chimera going to be gifted over the first kill of the game. Resources burned on both sides, but giving Cassiopeia away in this early on. Well, I think Yoichi's third game in this league a little bit unpleasant.
Yeah, and it's all coming from the bottom lane priority here. Baloo just gets, you know, first move up into that red brush. Divinus trying to make his way up to the mid lane, not particularly sure for what, but gets cut off and simply executed by the three-man party. And now KZ going to be forced off this wave as it shoves into Merbs. Just a little bit, but again, that's now going to be another point of pressure. Divinus, no flash. Gaboosh going to walk into Dunlosi on the Krugs. I was going to say, will path top to bot here. Could be an issue.
Flash is going to be burnt, but now Icy Gale actually might be in trouble. He's going to be drawing in, but Stumpy goes low, has to flash away, but he's going to be taken down by the Mordekaiser as Gaboosh trying to get a return kill, one if not two. Should be able to get it onto Dunlosi, will be able to do so, but Icy Gale is just putting out a decent amount of DPS as Volibear moves back into the jungle. Icy Gale not interested in chasing Gaboosh away, although Yoichi might be. Jumps over the wall, looking for the chain. Will he land it? Yes, he will, but there's a lot of CC. There's a lot of damage coming out of this bear. It will be enough for Silas to secure the kill, though. Ice Gale here to make sure, but Silas gets burnt low. Stumpy grabbing himself a kill after teleporting back to the lane. An extended fight, all even at the end of the day.
Yeah, all even come the end of it there. And Ornn has the double buffs. Icy Gale, not going to feel too bad about this one, though. Mordekaiser into most tank lanes. There's maybe a couple of exceptions that I personally don't know about. That's absolutely fine. Even into the Ornn, especially into the Ornn lane. As long as you time your R right and you know the Bellows Breath isn't available, you can always just bring him into the Death Realm. And that's a interaction we have to keep our eyes out for. If Ice Gale does try and bring Stumpy into that Death Realm, Stumpy can Bellows Breath it and avoid being dragged into that Gladiator Ring 1v1. London United still find themselves 1k down, despite the, or with the 1 kill deficit that they find themselves in. And whilst they're only 6 minutes in, again, doesn't really feel like they've been the proactive ones in necessarily trying to find angles for themselves. There's still been Munster that have been setting up a lot of these plays for themselves.
I mean, Lossi's looking to try and set something up in the bot side, but Gaboosh is in the river around first spawning Dragon, which is the Hex tech, so something worth considering. But also Dragon does a decent amount of damage, so
Can be hard to solo.
it can be hard to solo, and it can be hard to fight if you don't have good priority or a pick, because you could be in trouble. Gaboosh and Dunlossi, one of them is in trouble in the jungle as both of them start fighting each other, but it's Yoichi who gets the first move. Cabrera is there as well. Decent shield coming down, keeps Volibear alive, and the damage from Cabrera is big. He slivers and grabs one. The Volibear swaps sides, supports come through, but the Lantern's going to only go past Divinus. He can't take this on the bot team. Merbs will be firing towards the robot. Divinus has nowhere to go, but the fight's actually continuing. KZ's now here. Gaboosh needs to be careful, will go down, but takes one with him, and now they're moving towards Ezreal. The Flay, if they can get it, will keep Ezreal this side of the wall. It will! And Merb secures the kill onto Divinus off screen as well. Munster Rugby Gaming take everything that they could possibly want for the cost of one small bear.
Yeah, and when do we start podcasting, Will? Because I'm not sure. I know we're very early into the game, still 3,000 gold, though, at 7.5 minutes. London United just get absolutely wiped. And admittedly, I think at the very beginning, it looked like Gaboosh could be in trouble because he has used all of his cooldowns, actually, on the chicken camp.
Yes.
And maybe a window for Dunlosi to try and aggress on him. But at the end of the day, look at the minimap. The first move is coming from Munster. Why? Priority in all 3 lanes. It's the bottom lane that shows up first. Yes, in this particular instance, Yoichi does show up just because of geography, right? But look at the ultimates. Swap place. It's a very comical thing to see. Yoichi able to make it over the wood flash. Divinus, a little less lucky, unfortunately. In the middle of everybody, misses the hook. Kind of just, would sleep at the wheel for a second. He's like, this is not particularly pleasant. And Yoichi does drop as well. cost.
Oh, we're
Due
going
to
straight to another
person.
fight, though. Silas is caught out. The damage coming through from the Snake Woman is massive. And Chimera picks up third kill of the game, a 6 kill participation right now. Second highest on the team outside of Gaboosh. And for a player who has actually been questioned by a couple of analysts around the scene in terms of his ability. Controversially, won't be naming names, but you know who you are.
No, I would love to know who.
I will tell you off camera.
Okay.
But I would like to say that I have been a staunch Chimera defender.
Okay.
Because, hey, if you're on a roster that's doing so well and you're that mid laner, you can't be doing too much wrong, right?
No, I don't think so. Bit of a Chimera stand, so maybe I'm a little bit biased.
Yeah, of course.
But
I mean, he's no Stumpy, but like...
sure.
Remember, reminder for everyone on broadcast, Stumpy did tease that we would maybe get a Heimerdinger game from him before the end of the season.
True.
I am expecting that might be one to come out once Munster Rugby Gaming
Have
already
secured
secured
first
the
place.
positioning.
Yeah, that would be my chance too.
I've seen Ice Girl take Stumpy in the death realm. Speaking of, but we're going to move down towards this bot side where the team fight might be kicking off. Divinus is only level 4, but manages to find himself a snake. She's caught up in the air. Doesn't get away with the lantern because caught up too much. Stumpy actually survives his dalliance with Icy Gale. But that's a pick for London United around this first dragon, which still hasn't been started by either team. And it looks like London United are the ones who want to pick it up.
Yeah, with Chimera off the map, I think it makes the most sense to try and get it done right now. Munster, they could actually try and walk in after the fact here, but I think maybe a little bit slow to the party. And they will just find the remnants of the dragon as London United retreat back to their respective lanes. But on the bottom side, Merbs had that wave shoved in quite quickly, and I think is going to be taking, at the very least, one plate off that tower. And a wave will be missed by KZ, so that's the opportunity cost of that dragon. Wave missed by KZ. Plate also goes over to Merbs. Actually, really, if we could flick over to the gold, I'd be curious to actually get a grasp of how big the gold differences are right now.
500.
About 500 kind of everywhere, with the exception of the jungle, where Gaboosh, a sizable gold lead, 0.3k, give or take. Not doing too bad at all for himself, Gaboosh. Again, a jungler I've definitely praised a lot. I feel like has had pretty consistent early game performances throughout the season, and especially on these kind of champions where, you know, you can facilitate yourself a lot. Turn off the towers. You have a lot of CC. You have a lot of skirmishing power, things of that nature. And yeah, continuing to dominate this particular game, has the Herald in his back pocket, and full rotation coming in from Munster towards the bottom side. I expect Herald wants to be given to Merbs here. And it's actually something that we heard on an interview a few weeks ago. I believe it was actually from a light side player. I want to say Lundor. Talking about how, realistically, Munster hook straighted.
Well, if anyone can land a skill shot, Gaboosh is going to go in with the ultimate looking towards KZ. I think he's going to be run down. Actually going to be moving backwards. The ultimate from Jinx goes wide because they've already secured the kill. Chimera takes one more tower shot. Needs to be careful as Intel moving on through, but Chimera slivers away. Whilst Rugby Gaming, I was going to say almost a perfect crime, but there are a few too many missed skill shots for that to be the case. However, they grab both kills and will drop the Rift Hold in this bot lane. That's first tower going their direction. Could they maybe get a charge onto the second?
Absolutely. Look at the minimap right now. KZ, only one on the bottom side that's going to be defending this. Divinus, half HP. Dunlosi coming out of base right now. Maybe a bit of an error, I think. If this Herald doesn't crash, I believe it will, though. Still unattended entirely. So the recall timer, totally fine from Munster. And Merbs, not only does he get all of those tower plates, but he also has a call in his inventory. That's how free he felt about that lane. Ice Scale should be fine with that shield. Even going to trade back the damage to make the trade most even. And yeah, Munster in the driver's seat of this game right now. 5,000 gold difference between the two teams. And yeah, I think just already I can kind of harp on the draft a bit. KZ picking up this Ezreal super early on. Blitzcrank as well. Icy Gale getting picked on, but does have the ultimate to make this a 1v1 temporarily.
He can make it a 1v1, but who's going to go in with? Baloo gets the damage down with the Flay, and Merbs just going to finish the job off before he has the opportunity to use that ultimate. And honestly, decent discipline from Ice Gale. Probably isn't surviving that, so holds on to it because, hey, there's a Rift Herald down bot that was used. They're going to be needing to fight over a dragon in a minute and a half, so giving that relatively long ultimate might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think had to give it a reason as to why it wasn't cast, that would definitely be why. Ultimate, it's around this same kind of cooldown, but maybe just recognizing, hey, I think I'm dead anyway. I'm never trading a kill 1-for-1.
Ooh, the tower's going to be turned off. Dividends, I think, is going to fall.
Yeah.
Munster Rugby Gaming just roaming the map, looking for picks, looking to grab what they can. And do you know what? Are we going to see a 15-plater?
Yeah.
Top's gone, bot's gone. It's
Top's
just
gone,
the
bot's gone, mid lane, completely surrounded by Munster Rugby. I think this is a 15-plater. As the rocket, flies by. And no, I reckon 14 at best. Perhaps. Yeah,
Go
14
next.
at best. Yeah, Munster. What are you doing, lads? Get it together. It's looking like 13 as Icy Gale actually approaches this tower to defend.
Needs to be a bit careful, though, because we know what Chimera can do damage-wise this game. He's probably sitting on a decent amount. 6-1-3. Has been pulling all the strings. I was going to say in midfield. This isn't a football game. In the mid lane. League of Legends, everyone.
You know, if we're to slip away from the game for a second.
Okay, do you know what? I'll allow a second, but...
I feel like at least my inspiration for commentary
Yeah.
has actually just been football.
True, same.
Or was it for you?
Very true. Yeah, so the way I got into commentating was I used to have a season ticket at my local football club close to me, Reading FC. They're terrible. Relegations, I think, at the moment down the championship. It's not a good time.
Relegations and championship,
But
man, that's rough.
I used to go with my mum,
Okay.
and we got we had one like handheld radio that we'd take to football, and we'd have one earpiece each, and we'd listen to the commentary while we were at the game. How cute. So, and then I got my own radio because I wanted two headphones. So we used to listen to the BBC Radio Berkshire commentary, Tim Diller and Nick Gooding. Huge inspirations. I think they still do it, actually.
I wouldn't be surprised. Football commentators, they stay around for a while.
Yeah.
I think even the likes of Martin Tyler is still around.
There was some news about Chris Kamara's leaving his current job.
Oh, is it?
Soccer Saturday, I think.
Oh, that's a shame. I
Which
think,
everyone knows that. He's a legend.
for the non-English.
I was going to say, for the non-English football fans,
We're just spouting
probably
names
doesn't
at the
mean
moment.
much, but you know what? These are two UK and Ireland teams, so we
Yeah,
have a
that's
little bit discourse to allow it. Of course, Munster Rugby, Irish teams this season, Kamada in Division 2. They've kind of been owning the league, which is,
They have.
for someone who's been in the UK and Irish scene for
It's
a few
not
years now.
something you see. We haven't really seen too many dominating
No, we haven't.
Irish orcs, so it's definitely a nice change of pace.
There was that one playoff run where one Irish orc did very well, but we don't name them anymore.
Oh, that we.
But past that, there's been public questions about how can we get more Irish orgs, how can we get more Irish players, how can we do this, this, and this. It turns out the answer is there's been the talent and the ability there, because these aren't a fresh bunch of players or a necessarily fresh organisation. Munster Rugby Gaming have been around the scene a little while. And do you know what? Seeing them come and go, seeing natives come good as well, it's been really, really pleasant to see.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. There's a long-term. Oh, I'll have to hold that.
Right here, though. I think Dividends is probably going to go down. Unlossy gets the decent crescent strike. He's actually going to dodge out of the Jinx ultimate. A lot of damage coming through from her as the Ziggs Silas jump on in. Gets the shot onto Chimera. That could be pretty big. Rift Herald doesn't manage to get the slap back onto the tower, but that one is just one push away. Munster Rugby Gaming maybe overstay slightly, but they still get the positive end of the fight.
Yeah, Chimera punished for the overstep with Munster there. But again, I mean, they get the tier 2, they get the charge on the tier 3. Still 9,000 gold up. So I don't think this will be too much of an issue.
It's not the beginning of the comeback.
Realistically, I don't think it is. If we take a step back and with a little bit of seriousness, really talk about the compositions again, not only do they interact kind of horribly from London United point of view, unless they have some miraculous flank, the front to back here from Munster is absolutely
Well, this is what we said going into This is what we said going into Champ Select, right?
Yeah.
We said, setting up London United, first 15 minutes can be pretty good from them, honestly. Individual players are decent. They play these compositions where they can get themselves leads, but after the 15-minute mark, it kind of falls off. Obviously, Munster Rugby Gaming never gave them that 15 minutes, so they weren't given that opportunity to play around this composition. But do you really, and actually, I'm going to have to hold that point. Chimera is getting collapsed on by 3 members, and with Diviners there, it's going to be an easy kill onto the Snake. Is this the kind of thing we need to see London United doing? Is committing 3 members to get a kill onto 1 member sustainable?
When the map states like this, kind of, but again, Munster likely to just trade this entire tower. I mean, look how much damage Merbs is.
2
getting.
items, 2.5 items.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? This is the issue that I had with the Ezreal pick. You just give Jinx so much freedom. And for what? You know that the Jinx is on the opposite side of the lane. Why go for it here? Yoichi in the 1v1 against Kaboosh, but soon to be collapsed on. He's got to make quick work of this one.
Yeah, it does need to. The ultimate's going to go wide once again from Merbs. Teleport coming on through. Yoichi goes gold, and he's going to be assisted by absolutely no one as Chimera's the one teleporting through. Baloo is there for the assist. Actually doesn't get the assist from the Lantern Shield, which is kind of sad. It's fresh,
I'm
but
not sure if that's intended. Did he just not quite get to the tower in time? Or the lantern
I don't think the Lantern was taken, but you know, Stumpy's in trouble. Needs to be a little careful as members of United are coming through. Stumpy flashing away from what would have killed him, but Dunlossie's actually the one who ends up killing him as they get the dive down. Again, 3 members coming into the top side to get London United a kill. Again, the rest of the map is going to be forced onto you by Munster Rugby Gaming. The base is still intact. Baron not on the table for a minute. Are we going to be able to see Munster Rugby Gaming crack the base before the Purple Worm comes into play?
They damn well could have on the top side already if you asked me if there wasn't the overstep. So I mean, they've got 60 seconds to do it. It really depends on how they're feeling, to be honest with you. I think more likely to go for a reset here as a lot of gold was picked up in this passage of play. Is Merbs 3 items already? Yeah, Merbs is 3 items.
Yeah, I think it will be. The Infinity Edge should have picked up.
3 items, yeah. So, actually, no, just short.
All the components.
Yeah, I thought that he had a pickaxe in his inventory alongside that BF or an agility cloak. Unfortunately, he did not. So, no Infinity Edge on this particular reset. But 3 items, you know, almost at the 20-minute mark is absolutely absurd for any AD carry that basically isn't Ezreal. Just because the cost of Ezreal's items are significantly cheaper than your typical AD carry in the meta at the moment.
Can I pick your brain for a moment?
Of course, as always.
As a well-known Cassiopeia main,
Okay.
Cabrera's been sitting on the tier. Obviously, that was his first interlane buy, so he went for that over the orange ring, which, as Cassiopeia, makes a lot of sense because you're spamming those abilities out. Is sitting on this item going for the Rylai's and the Leandries first? What do you make of that?
Yeah, so obviously, Seraph's Embrace, Archangels, changed over the course of the preseason, and whilst I won't get into, you know, the details of the changes, effectively, the end result is this item is just significantly worse than it was last year. Now it's up to Dunlossy to try and make 50-50 happen here. Munster, though, a lot of discipline, and they're just looking to turn.
They're looking to get the fight going. Divinus once again the one call out. He gets completely annihilated. London United putting a little bit of poke from KZ, but he's the only one who can really do any effective poking. And when he's only level 12, as you said, he's got a couple of items, but they're Ezreal items, so do they really count the same? As Stumpy actually going to lock up onto one. It is Yoichi, though, as the on goes low. Kaboosh moving forward, gets the ultimate into the enemy team. Stumpy will finally burn down, and they're actually going to lose 2 members. Icy Gale needs to be a little bit careful. Yoichi goes golden as Merbs gets the first reset, looking for another. Will find it. KZ flashing away, but is still caught by the death sentence, and will be taken down over the wall. It's a triple kill coming through for Merbs. And you know what? Baron wasn't secured, but Munster Rugby Gaming take the fight and move down mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to move down mid lane. Death time is quite lengthy. Baloo going to reset, so it seems like Merbs probably just going to go secure the dragon, if anything, and then go for a reset of his own. And I should be up just looking for jungle camps at the moment on the retreat. And
Nothing there.
There's nothing there. In fact, actually just going to continue to look for jungle camps. Won't go for that dragon, and we'll just go for the reset instead. I think Munster, they understand the dragon is... At this point, it's time sync.
Right? Because they can't get the soul. They're not going to be able to set up for Elder unless this game goes to 40 minutes, at which point something has gone terribly wrong for Munster.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at this fight again. Obviously, a decent contest initially from London United after the pick goes a bit wrong.
Yeah.
But that pick's fall apart.
Yeah, so the fight looks quite good after the pick, as you highlight. Kaboosh turns out of the pit. I've been tanking the Baron for quite a significant amount of time, so was actually... not as healthy as we're actually coming out the replay.
Baron.
Yeah, different Baron
This
fight.
is a live Baron fight. As much as we actually Merbs going very, very low. Needs to be careful.
Merbs!
Actually take him down.
Merbs!
It's going to be Dunlossy securing the kill in the pit. It's a nightmare for Munster. Members go low. Baloo and Chimera well below half health. As Stumpy gets cut down as well. They might have lost Divinus. They might have lost Yoichi. But London United have the health bars to work with. Kaboosh in the bush. Going to jump out onto Isagel, but needs to be careful. I don't know if this 1v1 is the same as it used to be. A level for Isagel and the ultimate burning as well. KZ's there, but 2 members of Munster Rugby Gaming trying to go back in that bush. I don't know if this bear survives, gets the health, and actually will be able to move back away from the engagement. But hey, London United, second time in a row they've had a decent start to the fight, and this time it doesn't stay beyond its welcome.
Yeah, I suppose so. All right, Munster not doing the best job of making these turns work off the Baron for now, giving London United an opportunity to pick up some kills at the very least. How long will they keep this dance up? I mean, at the end of the day, all it takes is one tremendously bad fight from Munster. And in this instance, I don't think it can get much worse than Merbs effectively dying to the Baron. And not only that, had to expend the flash and still found on low seat outside pit. We'll get a replay of exactly what happened and why Merbs is in the position. Oh, I think, funnily enough, the Baron might have knocked him up. Breed, I'll request this replay from about 2 to 3 seconds before that, because I think the Baron might have actually been London United's best friend.
You're quite demanding, you know. Actually, Dragon will be fought over it. It will be secured by London United. Ice Scale goes low, will be taken out though. Dunlossie also is going to fall the Crescent Strike. Doesn't do anything to the Jinx, who's standing inside it. It's a double kill going over to Merbs. The Baron still on the map, of course, because London United had a positive play, but the positive play was to stop, not to take. And now it's on Yoichi and KZ 2v4, with Chimera being off the table. Coming towards this Baron buff, and you know what? I'm not sure. I think London United are going to try and defend because they know that they have to. But I don't know if they've got the facilities.
No, I don't think they do. Merbs, 3 items. This time has lifesteal as well. These guys check in. I mean, you can see Merbs, the range already, getting a couple of lethal tempo stacks up. Has the ultimate Yoichi.
But jumping in on towards Merbs, who does need to be careful. Manages to take it away. No miss ultimate once again, though. Yoichi getting a lot of damage onto Stumpy, who will be able to wander away. Munster Rugby Gaming secure the Baron on 5 with Chimera respawning, teleporting in. KZ's in trouble. He's being mauled by Gaboosh. As they manage to pick up the first kill of the fight on the other side, as Silas will fall. So does KZ. That's 2 kills that are good for Munster Rugby Gaming. They grab themselves the objective finally as well. It took them a few attempts, but they managed to secure it only 24.5 minutes into game. Baron for Munster.
Yeah. A couple of bumps along the road for Munster there, but they do finally get that objective. And with the Baron, they should be able to crack open the base like we was expecting, realistically, about 5 minutes ago. And not particularly the cleanest of mid-games from the Iris organization. We do typically expect a slightly higher standard from them, but London, I think, definitely made a meal of it for them. I don't think London made it particularly easy to secure that Baron. Fought for it, 2 for nail. And now with the buff going down finally in Munster's favor, expect they will push heavy onto these towers here. Waves already coming in. Bottom side, mid lane. Not quite a big wave there, but a sizable enough wave to work with perhaps on the bottom side. Expect a rotation there. Merbs gets this mid lane tower in as well. I think London United, they have to make something happen. They have to go real soon, or they're just going to fall under the pressure of this Baron and the gold lead.
Bear has crashed that wave bottom side. No cannons, fortunately, for London United, so they should be able to clear this out with Icy Gale alone. Will lose a bit of health on that tower, but not too much. Now the cannons are going to start rolling on through for Chimera in that bot lane. Sieging a little bit more effectively this time around, and Munster Rugby Gaming are going to bring the wave in mid also. They can look to rotate, but as you said, London United kind of need to make a decision here because they need to defend a little bit more aggressively. Managed to get the pick onto Baloo. He's not the priority target, but he will go down just the same as the fight kicks off. Merbs needs to be careful on the back line, but he's pretty much untouched. He's looking towards Yoichi. Misses the ultimate. Actually, will land to Divers this time around as Dunlossie might go down for the second kill of the fight. Needs to be careful. Gets the kill onto Stumpy, but won't be able to be taken down himself. The cannon stays alive and is still sieging through as KZ removes that. So I reminded him it was there. But now we've got the base being cracked open. Munster Rugby Gaming will make this play work. They need to be a little careful. Ice Scale doing a lot of damage to everyone. Picks up one. Merbs has the flash to get out of the way. Throws down the Chompers, but KZ will dive forward to get the kill. Chimera goes down too. The overstay is pretty big, honestly, as London United grab themselves the ace.
Yeah, they do. Temporarily grab themselves the ace. Baloo does respawn. And a little bit of, you know, a lack of discipline here from Munster, I have to say. London United definitely punishing that quite well. Objective bounties are up, and it's going to, you know, do something. It's going to put a little bit more of a dent, perhaps, than necessary into this gold difference here. And from 10,000, already about 7 instead. Baloo had the angle, just not quite the length. As objective bounty is actually going to fall off. Which, had a discussion about this yesterday, actually, on the Division 1 broadcast, of course. Objective bounties, very controversial when they were first introduced. Definitely a slightly flawed system. But for anybody who didn't happen to be watching the Division 1 broadcast, bounties actually kicked in. There was only about a 2k gold difference between the two teams, which perhaps, looking at it top down, a bit of a head scratcher, but the way that these objective bounties work is not just off the flat gold off the top of the screen, but a bunch of different metrics, including objectives, neutral, and towers. And when you take a look at the fact that London United have 3 dragons, I think that could be the reason why objective bounties have dropped off so soon, despite the rather large gold difference between the two teams. Munster, though, take stock of this game. 4 items on Merbs, 4 items, 4.5 on Chimera, really. Kaboosh working on 3, Stumpy 3 as well. Look towards the opposite side. Discrepancies are there, but the champions on London United, they are still capable of fighting, but it's about how they actually approach these fights at the moment. We're starting to crest on that point in the game where, you know, gold differences do matter less. It will be about execution. It will be about, you know, that one sly Blitzcrank hook that might just manage to hit onto Merbs, onto Chimera, and you find that execute, but it's why that GA has been picked up by Merbs, because he knows his team will be able to regain the ground that he likely falls on, if he does fall with this Guardian Angel. And something to know as well, all items will start to come in soon. Merbs already has his Web Fallen Sacrifice.
Nice. Good stuff.
Thank you. I know you do love the on items.
You know, I like the fact that he didn't know the names of them 6 months ago.
Yes.
That's basically about it. But looks like somebody was trying to build something, but Yoichi stopped him from doing any more arts and crafts, as Balloon needs to be careful. Half health, the knock only lands on the Stumpy. He's going to throw his own horn back. And his will also only land onto one burst of this. Unlossie this time around, and that's enough to pull the trigger.
Boosh.
Needs to be careful. The ultimate coming through from Jinx. Chimera gets burnt out. No Zonyas on the Cassiopeia yet, so not able to survive anything. And you know what? We made a comment about the beginning of the comeback not being 10 minutes ago. That's the second fight in a row that London United have come out better in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Munster, time and time again at the moment, they're just giving London these opportunities. And credit to London, because they're snapping them up as soon as a foot is actually misplaced here. Definitely very exciting to actually watch, as this game felt like it was over about 15, 16 minutes. All of a sudden, it's turning into a much more competitive affair, and now Munster.
Kaboosh, you're not too healthy there, buddy.
Yeah, it looked like a 1v4. Icy Gale tried to pick on the volley bear. That would be my best guess. Perhaps we'll get a look at that in the near future. But Icy Gale drops in that 1v4. Does force Kaboosh's flash, I suppose. That's it. Is the replay? Yeah, just Icy Gale on the bottom side trying to push the lane. Didn't realize Munster hadn't yet reset, and then, like you called out, gets ulted in, almost dies to the isolated damage. Yeah, Zonya's unfortunately just something to buy a couple of extra seconds in this instance. But you can see the damage is available for London United, and it is still very much a big threat. Massive ultimate.
You know what, Unlossie on the side as well, looking to try and get behind the pit, but the Baron's going down very, very quickly. It'll have to be fast. Goes in, doesn't manage to get the steal though. Puts the Crescent Strike out, but everyone's caught in the pit, so he's going to fall. It was a valiant attempt from London United jungler. However, he will lose his life and the Baron to boot. From Gaming, 5 with the second Baron of the game, looking to try and catch someone, but the Call of the Forge God goes wide. Will proc on the Divinus, but he's Blitzcrank split up, so they're not going to be able to follow him and chase him down. However, the inhibitor laid bare already. Laid bare because Kaboosh is playing volley. We'll lose the first inhibitor of the game. 31 minutes in. Now moving towards the second tower. Have Stumpy, have Kaboosh, have the defense against those tower shots. They should be able to pick up the second inhibitor. However, Icy Gale is making sure that there's not going to be a minion wave coming on through to allow them to push towards the base. And Stumpy actually gets knocked up. Kaboosh the same way. And the Ornn rooted goes down. They're trying to get the re-engage through. Ice Gale is looking to get the really long collapse down, but they're going to lose Loichi before they can even get to him. And now Ice Gale running, cut off, looking for someone. Balut is there, taking it to the death realm. The rest of the fight, Chimera picks up one, but will fall. Kaboosh is needing to be very careful. The box has been used. The death 7 goes down, but the only person dying in the death realm is Fresh. Kaboosh will also likely fall. There's a lot of abilities being thrown at him. Unlossie needs to get 2 more auto attacks, get the knock up. Wind becomes lightning, but not this time, as the bear will stroll out. 2 members of Munster Rugby Gaming survive with Baron. But London United's base looking a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, 2 inhibitors go down. Munster, I think they accomplished what they were looking for, but definitely a not very clean sort of post 20 minutes that we're typically expecting from Munster here in London United. continue to make a meal of just about everything. Yeah, there's maybe a frame where that Baron is available to be smited for Dunlosi, and unfortunately he can't quite hit it. Executed in the pit. Definitely a great effort from the London United jungler. Unfortunately, it just doesn't quite make it work. And staring down the barrel of a Baron for the next minute or so. Gabush and Merb still with that buff only.
Dragon is coming up. It will be sold for London United if they can take it. I know it's only Cloud. Is that something that could be an angle, potentially?
As a win condition, I'm afraid not. I don't think that the Cloud Dragon, or the Cloud Soul rather, changes a lot of how this London United comp actually ends up working. So, more realistically, just extra stats to come through when almost a cast, if they even get the opportunity to get the soul.
In the ultimate onto the tower, keeps it low. Then we're going to see Silas doing the exact same thing. Yoichi goes golden. And there's still 5 members of London United defending, but they're looking to change that. Merbs gets the first kill of the fight onto Silas. Divinus will also get destroyed. Dunloss needs to be careful. Icegale on the backline has managed to find Volibear, but Volibear's not the priority. It's got to be Merbs, who's going to pick up a Quadra. Turns around, looking towards Icegale. Is this the angle? Merbs is being creep blocked so badly. Will they give it over? Icegale goes golden. What can they do? Merbs actually going to go very, very low. But there it is! Pentakill for Merbs! And Munster Rugby Gaming will secure the game as well.
It took them 34 minutes, and it definitely wasn't the cleanest in the world. Merb picks up a pentakill on the Jinx to wrap up this game against London United, who made a meal of it from start to finish. They really did make this molehill a mountain. And Munster, they pick up their 10th win of the split. Definitely questions to be asked about that, the closing out of that game, though.
Yes.
Last 15 minutes or so, loads of just random deaths, it felt like, when they were sieging on the base of London United. But credits to London United for drawing that one out, for making that one a game that we honestly had to kind of second guess it.
I think this is the time when you can look at the composition that London United drafted. When you've got something like a Blitzcrank, those random deaths can be
it breaks up the
much
tempo.
Easier to gain. And this is something we talked about going into the game as well. And maybe a small subversion. The result was what we expected. But we said, Munster Rugby Gaming were a team that didn't really give angles for other teams to get into the game. And for the first 15 minutes, we were like, Munster Rugby, you know, business as usual, this is what they're doing. But suddenly, people were stepping out of line. Chimera got caught out by a couple of those hooks. You saw Gabush overextending a little bit, thinking Stumpy would go into fights a little bit too early. And suddenly, London United like, well, thank you for the opportunity, sir. We're going to grab a couple of big fights. We're going to be able to take you down at Baron a couple of times and defend very well. So, for Munster Rugby Gaming, yeah, they won. And that's going to be great, and they're going to be very happy about that, because 10 wins, 10-1 at this stage of the season, you're going to be super hyped about. I think there needs to be a bit of a VOD review over that game, honestly, because it wasn't as clean as we've seen from them in the past couple of weeks. However, we're going to go to a break. We're going to come back with a member of each team to have a little chat, starting with Munster Rugby Gaming, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.